Democrats had big midterm dreams, and they woke up and the California dream was dead. And the socialists were getting robbed by Robin Hood.
I actually feel like Robin Hood because I'm coming in and I'm going to say, where's all this money? We're done with everyone stealing the tax money. We're going to actually put it to the people that have turned to socialism because they say America doesn't work. It doesn't work if we let people steal all the tax money and we have no accountability and transparency.
California voters hit the polls tomorrow. Spencer Pratt's got an 85% shot at making the runoff. And the voters Karen Bass wrote off, they're the ones sending him there.
Karen tricked us. She don't get to do that twice. Now you come in here all the way to Crenshaw from the Palisades, and we all got something in common. Let's do it.
That's right.
Let's do it.
And while Pratt works the streets, here's what those streets look like under Karen. Quote, wow, somebody just died on Karen's live stream. LAPD's setting up a white tent to cover the body. This isn't a reality show. It is a horror show. This is what Pratt's running to fix. So when Bill Maher wanted to talk solar, Pratt was like, have you seen the sidewalks?
I don't need to know about solar, you know.
Okay,
I need to focus on making sure the moms are safe and the animals are not being abused. That's my party.
I know, but if you're the mayor...
The solar panels, that's going to be somebody I'm hiring. That's my deputy mayor is going to worry about the solar panels.
No, Spencer, I got bad news. If you're the mayor, you are going to have to learn some of these issues more.
Solar panels. We're about 3 years from worrying about solar panels. We need to get all the naked drug addicts off of the sidewalks, and then I can worry about solar panels.
But we can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
With the state of L.A. right now, the solar panels, you're going to spit that gum out.
Solar can wait. Pratt's got bigger problems with PICs.
They don't want to invest in L.A. because we allow the naked drug addicts in front of the hotels.
Wait, you keep saying that.
You got to realize,
are they really naked?
Butt naked. I will. If you give me your phone number, I will send you 1,000 naked drug addict videos a week.
I don't have to think about that one. No. I do not want
my phone.
you sending me naked pictures.
I can't even look at my phone anymore because the whole city sends me their naked drug addict content.
So the whole city's exposed. Just like Karen Bass.
What do you think about Karen Bass?
I just call her Karen Bass backwards. That's what we've always called her in my house.
Do you think Spencer Pratt he's gaining traction?
The only guy that's a real option.
It's not just L.A. California's got the blue state blues. In the bluest state of the country, Republicans are registering 8 times faster than Democrats. And a Republican might actually crack the jungle primary. Look at that. Steyer, Becerra, Hilton, neck and neck. The whole map's moving. Republican Senate odds are the best they've been in months. An 11-point swing in a matter of weeks. Democrats can't close. Why? Well, for starters, their candidates can't keep it zipped.
So the Platner says the report isn't true. Now, who knows? But as I was looking at this, I just thought, no shade, gentlemen, but it just feels like y'all are out of control.
I know.
Every time we turn around, somebody got somebody else up against the wall, in the bed, what is happening?
Democrats' best shot at flipping Maine Senate seat, the nipple Nazi, he's been caught on a hookup app that the New York Times labeled a haven for predators. Most of the people on the app are minors. And he's been sending a dozen randos, a lot of sexts. His wife caught him. He also admitted to doing cocaine when he was in the Marines, but Barack did blow him. He became president, so it is what it is. He's got a Nazi tattoo on his chest, had it for 18 years. Every time he got out of the shower, he's like, oh, that looks good. He said a Purple Heart recipient deserved to die. Whites who live out in the country are stupid, and women who drink should accept responsibility for getting raped. Now we find out he's been creeping online. But Nipple says it's all just a bunch of hot goss.
It's no surprise to me that the establishment media outlets are just going to run gossip instead of wanting to talk about the things that actually matter in this race, which are the material realities that the Mainers are working with. These people are going to try to make this race about anything but what it's supposed to be about, which is policy. They never want to talk about policy. Amy and I have a very loving and very happy marriage. They would very much like to try to rip that apart.
He didn't acknowledge any wrongdoing at all, but his wife did.
Being married is hard. Being newly married is hard. Being newly married and going through infertility is hard. Being newly married, going through infertility, and a Senate campaign is hard.
Marriage can be hard when you're married to a guy like that, who's got a toilet in his bathroom selfie profile. But don't worry, they're working through it.
I don't even know if I have the right words to describe what we've been going through, but our marriage counselor helps. My personal counselor helps. Graham's personal counselor helps. And we work on our mental health every day. No marriage is perfect, and I don't want a perfect marriage. I want my marriage.
3 therapists for one couple? This guy can't be in the Senate. In the House, maybe. He's a walking red flag, but Democrats think that's hot.
You represent masculinity in certain ways. The Democrats have trouble connecting with male voters. Describe the masculinity that you represent.
I think it's just a healthy form of it, which is, look, I lift weights. I shoot guns. My background is obviously in the military. At the exact same time, I go to therapy. I have a very open sort of dialogue and emotional relationship with my wife.
But even MSNBC is like, are you seeing what we're seeing?
The problem is his judgment, which he clearly has been lacking in as an adult. It's one thing to have foolish, youthful indiscretions, but I'm sorry, you cannot get past. It is not a Nazi-style tattoo. It is the tattoo of concentration camp guards. It is the very worst tattoo you can get if you are getting anything Nazi, and that's a pretty high bar there. So this has been a slow-motion train wreck.
Democrats don't care. He's got baggage bigger than the big, beautiful ballroom. He's a weapon aimed at 47.
Is this revelation disqualifying in your mind?
Let's talk a little bit more about Trump's controversies, all of which get enabled by Susan Collins' votes in the Senate.
He certainly admitted that he has made mistakes, but I think this is going to be a pretty clear contrast in Maine.
Yeah, I have concerns. That guy has questions to answer, and that's what campaigns are for. If we do not get the votes necessary to take care of the House and the Senate, we will continue to have an out-of-control president.
I hope that they elect somebody that is going to stand up to this president.
The nipple Nazi couldn't get a security clearance because he's confessed he's a communist. He couldn't get hired as a teacher. He's on an app where people prey on teens. Corporate America would never give this guy even an interview after what he said about blacks, drugs, hookers. Plus, he's mentally unstable. He's battled a drinking problem. He signed up to be a military contractor because he could, quote, he wanted to kill. His only qualification is that he hates Trump. And Democrats are like, that's our guy. All of this to knock off Susan Collins, a Republican who basically votes like a Democrat. Democrats say they care about character. Well, what about the nipple Nazi's character? He has none.
He's a cheater. He's an anti-Semite, because the fact that he had that tattoo for 20 years and didn't know what it was is a lie. So he's a liar, a racist, an anti-Semite.
Homophobe.
He's a homophobe.
Yeah. But who cares about character when power's on the line? Same thing in Texas. They'll run anybody. Their golden boy's a vegan preacher who loves him some trans kids. His own church bankrolls abortions, Palestine, and the transgender mafia. Talafrico sounds just like Mamala.
I've gone to every corner of this state over the course of this campaign. Well, I've gone to every corner of Texas already over the course of this campaign, from Beaumont to El Paso, from Amarillo to Brownsville, from Beaumont to El Paso, from Amarillo to Brownsville, everywhere in between. And I can't tell you the number of people who come up to me at the end of these events. I can't tell you the number of people who come up to me at the end of these events and whisper, I'm not a Democrat, like they're in the witness protection program.
Dr. Biden has a favorite sermon, too. Joe was fine. Stroke or no stroke?
He was fine. I mean, he was fine. It was inexplicable.
But what if that had happened during a meeting with foreign leaders or something like that?
I don't know how to answer that.
Her defense? What was I supposed to do? Tell the truth?
He gets off the stage. He says to me, Jill, I really, in other words, messed up, didn't I? And I said, yes, you did. I'm thinking, what do I say that will lift him up? That is true. I want to say the things that are true. And so I said, you know, you answered every question. My mind's racing. You know,
that's a pretty low bar.
Well, and so, I had to sort of lift him up. I mean, I'm his wife. I'm not going to get out on the stage there and say, Joe, you really screwed that up.
Shocked? Well, so were we when we heard the big guy's a big fan of the show. Quote, he was constantly watching Fox. So the big guy never changed the channel. But primetime wasn't what sank him.
I think most Democratic primary voters think that Joe Biden accomplished some great things as president and appreciate that he beat Donald Trump in 2020. I don't think they appreciated being lied to by Joe Biden, Jill Biden, and their entire campaign, who didn't just lie about the debate performance, but gaslit everyone and told us we were all overreacting, bedwetters, that their polls were fine, that debate was fine. And now Jill Biden's like, oh yeah, we were lying the whole time.
The Bidens won't own a thing. Party's angry. They're angry they lost, that they were lied to, and that they were kind of in on the lie. So anyone else that's angry, they're like, you're with us. Nazi tattoo, come on board. Vegan in Texas, oh, you're in. Burnt the city down, 4 more years. Rage isn't a strategy. It's just a cope. It's not even much better than hope. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.